What's up, homies? What's up, homies? What's up, homies? Welcome to the Knowledgeable Homeowner Podcast. We pick the brains of industry pros to unlock the trade secrets of homeownership. Our mission is simple: to turn everyday people into knowledgeable homeowners. What's up, homies? Welcome back to the Knowledgeable Homeowner Podcast. I'm Sturdy Joe. Here with me today, I got a cool, different guest. We have RJ Kasten, the president and CEO of Dynamite Tools, which I'm super jealous of because, like I said to you before, that I think in a different world is where I'd be because I geek out about stuff. I love techie stuff. I love tools. I have all the Milwaukee tools. Every chance I get to sneak. If I'm doing like a project at home and I have a chance to like sneak by a new Milwaukee tool, like I'm immediately buying it and I'm immediately sending the picture to my friends in the group chat. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, thanks for coming in, man.
Yeah, my pleasure. You know, it's I really like what you guys are doing here. It's a great outlet and to get some information to the homeowners, you know, with how contractors do work. And with me, it's, you know, I think it's important to for homeowners to, you know, see where contractors buy their tools and the type of standards that they set for themselves and, you know, the standards in which we set for ourselves and how that correlates with our
because you have a unique perspective, because we'll step back in a second, you'll give the backstory, but I feel as the guy selling the tools and the hardware and the equipment, and you see all the different contractors come in, you probably have your own opinions on some of these guys. You know what I mean? Some people come in and you're like, the guys at the counter are like, oh, this shothead's here again. And then you have some guys who are like, dude, this guy's aces. Like you probably can write like an expose.
There definitely are some stereotypes, but they go by trade, they go by all different sorts of demographics, you know, 100%.
Yeah,
you know?
So why don't you take a second, tell the people your backstory, how you got to be president and CEO of Dynamite Tools.
Awesome. Well, I am second generation of Dynamite Tool. My father is the original owner, CEO, president. He started the company back in 1977. It's a real funny story how he got into it. He found a warehouse full of tools that was an offer that he just couldn't pass up. And he remembered he went to California for some business. And he walked into a hardware store and he saw how this hardware store had circular saws and sanders and reciprocating saws piled up. And he thought it was just genius. You know, and he asked, he's like, is there money in power tools? And the guy's like, you know, on the hardware store, he's like, this is what I'm making my money on. You know, and he was explaining to my dad how you can make money on the blades and, you know, it's not just the tool itself, it's all the accessories that come along with it. And
this is in the 70s.
This is in the 70s. This is at about 1975. Infancy. He saw that in California. And then he came across this because he was into the food truck business. He was part owner of a bar also too. So he was in a little bit of everything. Very entrepreneurial.
Just, you know,
he did not like working for other people, you know. So
we resonate with that.
Yeah, I mean, my father's plan was originally he got drafted. He was going to get drafted, and he conveniently fell off a roof, broke his leg, so he went to college.
Nice. Yeah.
Damn. But anyway, fast forward, he got a deal on a warehouse full of tools. Remember what he saw there, and he thought he'd give it a shot. And went and started, the first location was in Selden, New York at Walbaum Shopping Center. Nice. It was, I don't even think it was 1,000 square feet when he first got it. But then eventually he expanded those units in that shopping center. And then in 1988, he opened up a 12,000 square foot location of it, that he owned now. In Bohemia, which is where we do business today at 1551 Smithtown Avenue in Bohemia. It's right by MacArthur Airport, right by where Smithtown Avenue and Lakeland Avenue meet.
It's a good like industrial-ish spot. Like it's a good
mix of definitely.
Residences are right there. It's 2 minutes from Sunrise, but there's also a lot of like a lot of like my woodworkers and stuff are over
I'm glad you said that, because the number one reason, besides all the industry that was going on around then,
true too. There's a lot of aerospace stuff there.
There was 10 times more than what there is now, but even more importantly, within 5 square miles, you had like 500 cabinet shops, you know, commercial cabinet shops, when all these guys were doing Formica up the wazoo, you know, and
they go through blades,
It was crazy. So that business alone back then was unreal. So we had then the original location became more or less a satellite location, and the main hub being Bohemia, especially stocking all the product there. And then I think it was sometime in the early 90s, he went and opened up another location in Farmingdale, which that was kind of short-lived. It's very hard to find good help in this industry, very, very hard to find good help, knowledgeable help, So you need to find people that are knowledgeable, and you need to find people that are trustworthy, that that you can have to run a location.
Yeah. On that point, being younger people in the industry, I get a lot of young people who reach out to me, and they're interested in the trades because they want to kind of start their life quicker. But I can tell that they are not that they're not suited for the trades, but maybe they could do something with a little bit more. It's less of the labor work and more of the back.
Get what you're
you know what I'm saying? Where
Absolutely.
I do feel like what you're trying, and that's why I felt like myself. That's where I fall. Is like I understand how things go in, but I also understand the engineering of it. Like I do inspections, I do testing, I also do HVAC design. Like I do that mix. And I tell young people, like, it doesn't always have to be I'm an engineer or I'm the tradesperson. Like, there's so many things that blend those two skill sets, and that's kind of what you're describing is, like, we need somebody rough enough to sell the drill, but also smart enough to sell the drill. Like, I hate to say smart enough, but, like, it's a different kind of mindset where some guys are just using the drill, and some guys are just designing the drill on the computer. You need to mix that brain.
100%. You got to have a roughneck mentality to be able to talk to these guys. You got to have the will to tell these guys, hey, you're doing that wrong. Using WD-40 as a lubricant for drilling into steel, not the smartest thing you want to do.
Yeah.
And trying to explain to a guy that's been a custom metal fabricator for 50 years that the stuff he's been using for cooling is the wrong stuff. It's you got to have the fortitude to get that message through. You might.
If you don't say it right.
You might, but exactly. So, and sometimes the best course of action is just being as upfront and forward as possible.
Yeah.
But there are times also too where you got to, tiptoe around and just get to the point.
Yeah. Especially when it's going to benefit them the most. It's
100%.
Like, I think so. I run into that in new construction. There's an energy code test. It's a HERS rating, the blower door test. That's part of what I do. So it's a very touchy subject for the builder. The homeowner's nervous, the builder's nervous. It's code stuff, and code brings up a lot of negative feelings. But I'm a third-party guy. I don't work for the town. I work for myself, and I have a responsibility to be ethical. I'm not cheating anything, but I think the quickest way I build the trust is because I get it. Like the contractor they get very defensive, and I'm the bad guy. I'm like, we're a team.
Yeah.
The client hired you. The client hired me. I want this to pass.
Sure.
I'm not going to leave until it passes. I will help you achieve it passing, but we're not fighting.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like, I'm trying to help you. I don't want to be here all day either, dude. So you're going to help me. Like, we're a team. And I do think there's a certain, these are my podcast boots, but these aren't the ones that I walk into.
Sure.
They will be eventually once I scuff them up a little more, but the first thing I learned on a union job site was you wear the boots at home for 3 weekends doing yard work before you wear them to a job site, because there's just something about
that the hard way.
Yeah,
many times.
The construction swagger goes a long way. When the first impression goes a long way. So
absolutely, it's and that's one of the things I've taken from my father was relationship building. Mm-hmm. But the thing is that, and back to your point before, and I think this is what you were where we were getting to, is that no, it's all good. That you kind of in this position got to be a jack of all trades, right? You have to understand where every guy that walks through that door, what he's looking. See, you have to. It all coincides. So a guy walks in the door, you have to ask him right away, not what you're looking for. What is it that we're working on today? Yeah. What's the job at hand today? Yeah. Okay, what are we trying to do with that job? Okay, you're trying to get a 3/4 inch hole into a 1/2 inch plate of steel. You may not actually need that annular cutter or that magnetic drill. Maybe I would give you a carbide tipped hole saw that could work for you.
Give him a solution.
Okay, yeah, He's like, I don't know, carbide tipped hole saw. I've been going through hole saws like crazy. Okay, what are you using for cutting oil? There's many, many different things. You want to make sure that the customer gets the right tool for the job. But while you're doing it, it's building up that rapport, right? Building up that trust. And, making sure that they get the right product for the job. So this way, when they come back, and I always like to say this, they come back with an open wallet, not an open hand, right? So, or an open mind, even more importantly.
Yeah.
So
because investing in good, and we'll circle back to this. 'Cause I know we're here, but investing in good tools for the contractor is investment in everybody. It's investment in the outcome of the job. It's investment in their time. I was introduced to you through Chris Corcione, and when he loves talking about all his different stuff he uses, and he was talking about the material he uses, and it wasn't even just the best product to use for them. He was like, it's less dust for me to breathe in. So like that investment, like you said, the open wallet thing is because they're willing to invest in better products,
exactly,
which create a better outcome for everybody.
And it kills the mood a little bit when a customer's in and you just tell right away that he just wants the cheapest thing possible, because that's not what we're here for.
Yeah.
We're here to give you the best product for the job. And, but that's one thing, and, I'm glad you have me here, Joe, because the very common misconception is that we're just a spot for contractors. We're not just a spot for contractors. We're also for a do-it-yourself type of person and for a homeowner.
Yeah, so I can walk in off the street into
100%. We're your standard retail business. And it's, we also have an e-commerce site as well. We have a pretty strong social media presence that's really up and coming. So, but it's, we're always trying to get to all different sorts of demographics, all different sorts of trades, and all different sorts of, homeowners, do-it-yourself guys, hobbyists.
I go into a lot of, as a home inspector, I go into a lot of houses that have been, occupied by the same person for a long time. And unfortunately, they're selling it because the person passed away. And I go into the shed like this, I go into the garage, and I see a whole bunch of Pop's tools, and they're just on the wall, and they're way older than me. And they are used, and they got a story to them. Tools like that were made to last, and the person using them, like, listen, Grandpa probably wasn't a woodworker. Grandpa probably worked in a office, but that generation, they did the things themselves.
Men had tools.
No matter what the occupation was, they had enough to get by. And I'm an advocate of, like, I respect people who are like, I can't do it, I'm not going to do it. But there's certain things that a homeowner can be doing.
Sure. I mean, every basic homeowner back then understood basic plumbing, basic electric, basic carpentry.
Even just to get you out of the bind until the professional comes and fixes whatever.
Well, the world is just so much more flooded with things for us to occupy our time that it's like when we think, hey, we could just pay somebody to put up that molding for us. We could just pay somebody to replace that flooring for us or fix that leak or change that faucet, Today's generations, they'd much rather, pay somebody to do it.
So what I'm facing is I have homeowners, young people, way overextended, ridiculously overextended. Conversations at Easter a few days ago were like, I don't know how this person, I know, like the couple's jobs, I know how much they make. They're getting pre-approved for $700,000. Doesn't make any sense.
Right.
Doesn't make sense to me either, but they're doing it.
Sure.
Where I think that it's going to have to come back around because like the necessity of it is going to force people to do it is people are going to be overextended and they're not going to be able to pay somebody to do everything. And I think you should pay professionals to do professional work, but there is a lot of little... All the tools in here, majority of it is really just for, like, not the disaster quick fix, but like most of the stuff that I end up doing on my house is really just if something breaks, I need to fix it until one of my tradesman friends comes and fixes it at this point. And I have tools that probably they're professional level now because, like I said, I just love buying Milwaukee stuff. But it's most of the time it's really just the quick fix stuff. But it leaves me less prone to being screwed over.
Yeah. Well, it's very important, like for us at Dynamite, that we provide a product that, number one, is going to last. And if there is an issue, it's covered behind a strong warranty. We want to make sure that we service, repair, and back up all the manufacturer's warranties right in-house. That's very important to us.
Okay.
So it's not just when you buy a quality tool from Dynamite Tool, it's how we're going to help you service it for the longevity of the life of the product. That's very important to us.
I mean, because I think that's the biggest fear is, you make an investment on something, you use it a couple times, and then when you go to actually use it, it's not working.
Yeah.
And it's, to me, like, I'm like, what do I, like, my mindset is like, well, fuck, I just got to go buy it.
Where else can you go, walk in, pick out a nice 35 horsepower, $4,000 table saw, and 15 years from now still get parts and get it serviced, and walk into a place. People are making these big commitment purchases blindly when they go online. When they come to us in our 11,000 square foot showroom, 2 floors, they get this huge selection of tons of stuff that they can look at. Come and get the questions that they have all answered. But how we service you after you buy the product is really what separates us from the competition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, so we started talking a little bit about homeowners, and I think it's cool because, like I said, I think there's going to be a little bit of a surge of people being forced to DIY, and it's not even just DIY projects. Like I said, it's DIY maintenance. Let's pretend you got brand new homeowners. Father's Day is coming around, birthday's coming around, Christmas coming around. Wow, this guy's got no tools, or this girl's got no tools. Because honestly, a lot of when I'm doing a home inspection, the wife's listening to me more than the husband is. The wife's more, they're looking at, I got the panel open, and they're like, what's going on in there? And I'm like, I'm teaching to everybody. What is a good starter homeowner, like base level DIY toolkit? Like what should they go for?
Well, I think everybody should have a half-inch hammer drill, impact driver combo kit, So, everybody's very tribal with their tools these days, right? So, the three biggest brands, in my opinion, are always going to be Milwaukee, DeWalt, and Makita, okay? Please understand, when you go to Home Depot and you buy Rigid and you buy Ryobi, you're buying Milwaukee.
It's just it's badge engineered.
It's all just,
the same internals with a different case on it?
I wouldn't say same internals. Okay. No, I'm not going to say that. But in some cases, you're looking at apples to apples. But, Milwaukee is geared towards the contractor and the professional. Where, in my opinion, the Rigid and the Ryobi is more geared towards the home centers. Yeah. Okay? And you'll find that more for the contractor that's not going to use the tool that much, or the homeowner that's going to use it occasionally. Yeah. Okay? But with the brands that we sell, everything we sell is compatible not only for the contractor, but also for the end user. For the homeowner or the do-it-yourselfer. Every brand, because everybody always asks me this, Joe, it's a very common question, is, am I getting the same tool from you as I'm getting when I go to Home Depot? Well, listen, if they're selling a two-piece combo kit for $299 and I'm selling it for $399, it's not the same tool. We're not talking apples to apples. If that was the case, I wouldn't be in business, right? So if every brand has a good, better, and best scenario, okay, let's say on a two-piece combo kit, you'll always find the best at Dynamite Tool. You'll sometimes also, too, find the better one for a lesser expensive option. Where at Home Depot, Lowe's, or any box store, okay, you're more likely to find the good or the better, and sometimes you'll find the best, but you always find the best value when you walk into our door. We have to be able to differentiate ourselves from Home Depot, especially with the customers that already know what they want. That aren't looking for the consultative sale. So so we got to have it available, and we have to have it at the right price. Otherwise he's going to walk out the door and he's going to boom, 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 Amazon Prime, it's there the next day, right? So there's a huge standard that we like to set for ourselves. And that goes from when you walk in the door to when you leave, and from when you have to service the product, years down the road,
Talking about the difference in the quality of the tool, it just takes me back to like being a kid, and I don't know how true this is. My dad, not a tradesman, but growing up through the recession, I got into construction because my dad was grinding 7 days a week to pay for. I was one of four.
Hustlers found a way.
But we still had a house to take care of. Absolutely. And my mom wanted to redo the kitchen and stuff, so I was home. And my dad was like, "You're going to learn how to use a table saw." But at the same time, we were learning together. He had his tools. He always did stuff. He's a mechanical guy. But we learned doing stuff together, right? So
That's a determined guy.
There's no stopping. Awesome. He still to this day does stuff that I'm like, "Can you just stop? Don't do it." But he's nuts. That's awesome. But he would talk about, and I don't know how true this is, but he'd say if you buy John Deere stuff at Home Depot, it ain't John Deere stuff. I don't know what it was. I feel maybe it was another brand, but he was always like, if you buy a John Deere lawnmower at Home Depot, it's not the same.
But it's stuff that's specifically made for that type of production.
Yeah, it's volume stuff.
Exactly.
All right. So when we're looking at the tools, and I don't mean to cut you off. It's just because it's at the top of my mind. If I'm looking at the tool, are you saying is there different lines? I know Milwaukee has different there's the fuel.
I say there's different levels. There's different levels in quality, right? So let's excuse me. Excuse me. So let's take Milwaukee for example, right? Because it is, in my opinion, the number one brand on the market. You know, in order for a business like me to be successful, I have to be a flagship location for Milwaukee.
I feel like right now it's like every guy's Sprinter van is just
and rightfully so. They're geniuses when it comes to marketing.
Yeah.
I can give you stories about how they were with marketing when I worked for them 20 years ago, and how they are now. We can get into that later. But let's go over Milwaukee real quick, right? So if you come to me right now and you ask, RJ, I'm looking for a Milwaukee 2-piece combo kit with a 1/2-inch hammer drill and an impact driver. Okay, well, the one I have is going to be the best one that Milwaukee can offer you. And the price that I can offer you, let's just say the standard price is $399. There's various different promos that we can run on it and this, that, the other thing. That's not my price, by the way. We're always cheaper, okay? But you know, Home Depot will have it at $399. I'll always be lesser expensive. But then Home Depot will also have a kit for $299. Okay? That they'll promote a lot of because they know their customers are more inclined to buy a $299 kit than a contractor at a $399
So you can get apples to apples, the tool. I understand. But they're not the one they're pushing, the one that the deals are always going to be that.
Well, the ones that are geared more towards, you know, the people walking into Home Depot.
We got like a light bar or something for my dad in his garage, and it came with it was like a combo. It was like a battery and like the 12-volt screw gun. The 12-volt screw gun.
Was it the hood lamp? Was it? Yeah, those things are awesome.
He has a Jeep. He's always messing.
Yeah, fantastic.
And we wanted to get. It was like if you get the I got the headlamp separately, and then I went and got the batteries from them because I wanted to have batteries because he didn't have the 12-volt yet. So I was like, I could use a screw gun, so I just bought it and I kept the screw gun for myself. The screw gun never worked.
Really?
Ever.
Really?
And then I go to Home Depot, and they're like, we don't do that, dude. We don't take it. Yeah.
Really? Well, even if you don't buy it from us, and I'm glad you're saying this, Joe, bring it to us.
All right, cool.
Okay? We're going to help you with it.
You're going to go home with it.
Yeah,
I got to find it. It's
no
somewhere.
Problem.
It's somewhere.
No problem. We'll take care of it.
But it was just like funny, where it was just like, ugh. Like I did it, and then I just go in there, and like I knew, I was like, is there like a return? Like, nah, you got to go through Milwaukee. And I just never followed up with it.
And you know, we're lucky where we, you know, with the products we bring in and the brands we sell, we don't run that too often, but it's very easy to solve those issues for customers. You know, so it disheartens us, but at the same time, it's like, well, that's why we're still in business, because that's what separates us from those box stores. Yeah. If I ever heard an employee speak to a customer like, oh, man, no, we don't deal with that, when you could help that customer. Yeah. You know what I mean? It wouldn't have been very good for that employee.
Yeah. Well, I think a business like yours, that is probably one of my favorite things about it, is just it's personal. The guys are personable. There's relationships. The guys walk in, they know you by name. Like even Dom, the Mole Guy, we just shot the Mole Guy episode, and I said he was coming. He's like, I'm familiar with RJ. I see his stuff. I see him when I go in Dynamite Tools. And
you know, RJ, everybody in this industry knows me as RJ, which stands for Rich Jr. You know, my father's name was Rich. Everybody knew my father as Rich or Richie. You know, but you know, it's only people in the tool industry call me RJ. You know, funny. So it was because I worked with my father for so long.
What are you at home?
What's that?
Like, what are you at home?
At home I'm Rich or Rich.
Okay.
So if you were, it's funny, if I grew up with you or if you were family, you call me Richie. Mm-hmm. If you know me as a friend or an acquaintance, you call me Rich. If you know me from tools or anything with that, RJ. It's RJ.
That's funny. Yeah, so that's me. Like in school, I was Joe. At home, I was Joey.
Yeah, there you go.
Like one of my best friend refers to me as Joey. I don't know why, but he's the only one. Like my wife calls me Joe.
When someone yells, "Hey, Joey," in a bar, you're gonna know that's somebody you know well.
Yeah, my cousins, my aunts. I'm Joey to them.
Exactly.
And then now professionally, I've become Sturdy Joe.
Right.
Which is also like tongue in cheek. Like my extended friends will see me and be like, Sturdy Joe. Like, so now that's become the thing. So
and I'm sometimes bad with names, but I'm really good with faces. So, but if I hear, "Hey, RJ," and before I turn around, I know, okay, it's for work.
Oh, it lets you file it away. That's good.
Oh, absolutely. But
we meet so many people. I forget where I meet people from, and that's the worst. Like, I never want to be like, oh, where do I know you from? But it just happens sometimes.
But what drives people wild? So I do have a really good memory with some things, and I'll remember. I won't remember your name, but I'll remember your face. I'll remember what you bought.
That's funny.
You know what I mean?
I'll remember your boiler.
I'll
remember your name, but I'll remember the boiler. Like they'll start talking, and I'll be like, oh, you had termites in the crawl space. It's so weird.
I used to go to what do they call that? Country Fair, the go-kart place.
Yeah,
I
awesome.
can't believe they closed that place. It's really depressing.
Awesome.
But anyway, I have 3 boys, so I used to bring them there all the time. And I used to run into customers there, and I just walk up to them, not even say hi, I'd just be like, hey, how's the Makita drywall cutter that I just told you, doing, and they'd be like, oh, it's awesome. I love it. Oh, you need blades? I got blades. Just came in. And he's like, yeah, I do. And then I'll see him that week,
That's part of like the Long Island small business thing, though. Is like Long Island is so densely populated that it's like you can't do business in a town and just not run.
People forget we're on an island.
Yeah,
people forget we're on an island. Go live off the island for a short time. I went to college at Sacred Heart. And just going 14 miles over the Sound in Fairfield, it's a completely different world.
2-hour car ride's not a big deal.
It's not just but it's not just driving north, south, east, and west. You know what I mean? It's pretty wild. But I even lived in Sandy Springs in Georgia for a while, and it's just completely different world. But people forget that we're on an island, and you will run into people all over the place.
Yeah, so it's the most important part for keeping a good relationship.
Absolutely.
But I want to circle back to your background a little bit. So your family was Dynamite Tools, your father was Dynamite Tools, and you mentioned working for Milwaukee.
So out of college, I worked, for my father up until college, in and out. Just stocking shelves.
Yeah, working on the weekends kind of thing. Yeah.
I was definitely more the runt of the company, but I was breaking my teeth more or less a little bit. But in college, I really broke my teeth with selling cell phones in the middle of kiosks in the middle of the mall.
Nice.
In the middle of Trumbull Mall while I was at Sacred Heart. And at $45 in activation, I was like, hell. I did pretty well. Really broke my teeth with sales. Yeah, during college.
So just getting beer money. Yeah,
it was more than beer money. I did pretty well. But anyway,
sell too.
So out of college, I didn't want to go straight working for my father right away. I wanted to make my name in the industry a little bit, at least gain a little more respect. Besides the obvious nepotism that would be, somewhat presented. But so I went and worked for Milwaukee Electric Tool out of college. I worked for them from 2005 through 2008. And I'll tell you a real funny story, because if you want to talk about Milwaukee's mentality back then compared to now, this is a real funny story. So I was at the National Sales Conference back at Scottsdale, Arizona. I believe it was 2007. Okay, so I was there 2-3 years already. And so it was real nice. They put you up in a real nice resort in the middle of Scottsdale, Arizona. And they put you in these different seminars, finance seminar, marketing seminar, product development seminar, so on and so forth.
This was hosted by Milwaukee.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So this is Milwaukee's own one. Yeah.
And they do it all to the nines. Even back then, they did it very well. And it was really nice working for them. I really liked working for them. But anyway, this was their mentality. So I'm in the marketing seminar, right? And I'm the youngest kid in the room by then, okay? I'm actually 25 years old. Believe it or not, I had hair, okay? And I had most of these tattoos already, and I stunk like Marlboro Lights. And so anyway, that was when my guitar playing days were really kicking in. And so anyway, they asked, how can we reach out? Now, keep in mind, the marketing team that's in the front of the room, no offense to these gentlemen, they were great. But the youngest guy, I think, had to be in his mid-50s.
Yeah. So they did not understand the way.
But the first question they asked, Joe, is how can we reach out to the younger demographic? So me being the youngest guy in the room, everybody kind of looked at me, and I raised my hand, and I go, listen, because I started training jiu-jitsu around then. And, I said, listen, the fastest growing sport in the world right now is mixed martial arts, UFC.
Yeah.
If you put your name...
at that point, too.
Right? 2007, 2008. So I go, if you just put your name on a fighter's shorts for a minimal price, okay? Your motto is nothing but heavy duty, okay?
I know, right?
Just think
just
about
badass,
it.
Yeah.
And I'm not kidding, Joe. I got laughed out of the room.
No way.
I got laughed out of the room, and I got told they will never partake in such barbaric stuff. More or less. I'm not kidding.
Wait a minute.
So listen, let me just finish this. So that night I called my father because I had to vent to somebody, okay? And I'm screaming in my hotel room, not screaming, but just,
of course.
How could they, blah, blah, blah. He's laughing. He's just like, they just don't understand, they're dinosaurs, this, that, the other thing. Long story short, let's fast forward to 2010, right? I'm no longer working for the company, which was fine. I split on good terms with them. And I was actually working for Hilti at the time, okay? 2010. And Brock Lesnar was fighting Cain Velasquez for the biggest heavyweight championship up to that date. And Milwaukee, and this is how much they changed their mentality from 2007 to 2010, just 3 years. Okay. Wouldn't you know it, Cain Velasquez, the number one contender for the heavyweight championship, walks out with Milwaukee tattooed across his butt.
No
okay?
way.
They
I feel like I remember seeing it.
They ran Milwaukee commercials, nothing but heavy duty with all the fighters freaking using all the tools
it's the
and everything.
Yeah.
It was unreal.
How many UFC fans
I'm sitting there coincidentally with my father watching the event, and I'm losing my mind. I'm hitting up my buddies that are still working for Milwaukee. They're laughing because they remember that day. And I'm not saying it's because what I brought up that day, but I find out that the vice president of the company went from one age to like half the age, okay? And this was the mentality not there. But to Milwaukee's, to their credit, what they've turned themselves into a branding company, into a glorified, awesome marketing company.
I see the red. I'm like,
you go to their campus now. It's because that's what it is. It's campus. It's no longer like you go to the Milwaukee headquarters. It's like a campus. It's like a Milwaukee campus now. And to their credit, what they've really done for the industry and the value that they're providing the customer, they deserve it. They really do. I wish some more companies would really follow suit a little more. But the truth is, if you really want to be in this industry and be considered a flagship location for all things power tools, you got to be in Milwaukee. You just have to. But DeWalt is still a very, very big player, especially when it comes to saws. They're very big in saws. Makita is still very good. I have no qualms with the products. They just got to fix up their promotions a little bit.
So my cousin growing up, he's still a set builder, but he was like the first carpenter I ever knew. Like we built our deck in the backyard, and he was just like classic, long hair, cigarette in the mouth. We're laying deck plank out, and it was like the mid 2000s, and he had Makita. That was like the first Makita, and we had like a the classic DeWalt with it, like it had like the stick, to plug the battery in. And I was like, what's the difference? I was like 10. I was like, what's the difference? And he took a lag bolt, and he was like, I'll show you the difference. And we were demoing this deck. He sent that thing in there so far. And that was the first time I saw an impact gun.
Wow.
He was like, so that was the Makita was like the carpenter's one. So I remember when Milwaukee became big. Like I always thought of Makita because my cousin. I always thought of Makita as the one. But my favorite thing is one of our past guests, Nick Anthony, the woodworker. He came over. He did a nice white oak countertop for me, and he had a DeWalt chop box. He had some Makita tools, and he had his Milwaukee tools. He's like, I just find what I like from all of them. He's like, I probably have more Milwaukee, but I like a little from everybody.
And if he's a one-person guy, he doesn't have to worry about stuff walking away.
It's
you know what I mean? Or getting mixed up with other people.
He's
so
like,
he
I got
knows
45 batteries charging at a time anyway, so I just keep all 3 chargers on
But
the
the
truck.
funny thing about Makita, it's funny you say that. If not for Makita, Dynamite Tool wouldn't be here today. I have to give them credit. Yeah, I'll tell you the funny story. So basically, more or less, my father had to fly to Japan. Makita wasn't even authorized to be sold in the United States yet. Okay?
That's crazy.
So he wanted to be Makita's premier United States dealer in the late 70s. Okay? So he got on a plane and he flew out to Japan and showed up at the president of Japan's office, struck up a deal, did everything, this, that, the other thing. And my father, to his credit, 100%, anybody could challenge me on this. He is solely responsible for bringing Makita to the United States the way it is today.
And it sounds obvious now, but we're talking, what did you say, late 70s?
This is late 70s, early 80s.
That's innovative.
Yeah. It's, he helped set up certain sales rep agencies with the product and all this stuff. So he was really, really integral in bringing them over here to the United States.
That's really neat.
But not only that, I'll also say that I'm sure everybody may be also familiar with the brand Festool. Mm-hmm. We were the first Festool North American distributorship. Nice. Fortunately, we moved away from them since they decided to go sell all their products on Amazon. But that's just they're taking it into a different direction. It's not our bag, so you go ahead and you enjoy that. We'll do our thing over here.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's a whole nother story.
But we're getting close. We're getting close to the end here.
Yeah.
Giving me a lot of great information. I had a lot of fun. I'm so excited. I said I love tools.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, listen, if you've never been to the store, it's 1551 Smithtown Avenue, right in Bohemia, right by MacArthur Airport. It's an 11,000 square foot showroom. It's open to the public. You can just walk on in. We're open 7 to 5 Monday to Friday, and then 7 to 1 on Saturdays. We will be open some holidays, just not Christmas, not New Year's, not Thanksgiving. Okay, but those holidays that land on a Monday, a lot of those will be open.
We're working.
But we cater. We are not there just for the contractor.
That's
it's
awesome.
very important that the do-it-yourselfer or the homeowner, they understand that we're here to service them also too. And there's no shame in walking in and being like, hey, listen, I'm just a homeowner, but I want to get something quality.
Yeah.
Okay, what do I need to get? This is what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
It's very important that also too, that people have been by us in the past understand that we're under new ownership now. Okay, I got some partners behind me. We got some big capital infusion into the business lately. You're going to see us with a strong presence on social media now. You're going to see us with more product in stock that we've ever had before. We're going to have all different sorts of avenues in which we're going to be marketing and all this stuff to reaching and giving you guys really the extra advantage and the extra edge that they're going to need. Awesome. So we got to provide that uniqueness to the customer, and that's what we're really focusing on. So, we just as the contractors set a certain standard in the tools they buy, we have to set that standard as well. So, when you find a contractor that does set that standard high and they are buying the correct tools, you're going to see that show in their work.
Yeah.
Okay.
It costs them money and it affects their bottom line.
It really does.
Yeah.
So it's all about setting that standard, and that's the thing that we've always abided by at Dynamite Tool. But now it's even better having this total infusion with stock and product.
That sounds awesome.
It's really been really
wild. I feel like we need to go. And I need to go to Dynamite Tools, and maybe we'll shoot some content there.
The time to come, and I'm glad you're saying this, Joe. We'll leave it with this, I guess. We're bringing back our annual tool show, Long Island's largest hand and power tool show, June 2nd through the 7th. It's going to be a week-long occasion.
That's crazy.
Week-long event. You'll have access to the show pricing all week long. On Friday and Saturday, we're going to have a huge circus tent covering the whole parking lot, with all demonstrations from all the vendor reps, and it's going to be the sickest pricing you've ever seen. On Friday and Saturday, we'll have a tiered giveaway program. So if you spend $500, $1,000, $2,000, or $5,000, you'll walk away with up to 10% of the value of that tier. So Friday and Saturday, we'll have the demonstrations with the tier, but you'll have access to the show pricing all week long. It's a decades-long tradition that we stopped doing just before COVID. We're now bringing it back. I'm real excited. It's really coming together really well.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
My new partners, their heads are spinning a little bit, but it's all going to be pretty awesome. I'm real excited for it.
It's Dynamite. It's explosive.
Tool.
Yeah.
Dynamite
this
Tool.
isn't calm.
Big on selection, small on price.
Hell yeah, let's go. I want to go buy some freaking tools, man.
Awesome,
I'm hyped. Thank you so much for
my
all
pleasure,
the info.
buddy.
I would love for homeowners to have a great place that they can go to learn about the tools, and they can go to you humbly. And I think people do feel a little intimidated. They don't want to. Nobody wants to be like I don't know what I'm doing. But like, dude, and the people who know the trades know like that's the best. That's the best.
Guarantee it won't be the dumbest question we heard that week.
Exactly.
That day.
It's just humble, and you're just showing that you just want to learn, and that's what you guys are there for, to teach.
Absolutely.
So
the question is not the tool that you want, because we understand that people may not understand the tool. It's what's the project you're doing.
Yeah.
We'll understand the project you're doing and giving you the best product for that job. That's what we do.
So you mentioned social media. If you want to just tag your hand.
Yeah, Dynamite Tool on Instagram, 100%. That's their best way of sourcing information on events, promos, and everything latest and greatest in the industry.
With it.
Very interactive. We find Instagram to be the best for our business. Nice. But we also, it goes off into Facebook and also TikTok as well. But our main hub is definitely Instagram. We have our website, dynamitetool.com. We just launched that. It used to be dynamitetoolco.com, but now it's dynamitetool.com. We got the URL for that. It's an all-new website. We just launched it. So it's a solid foundation. It's a work in progress.
Yeah.
But, man, I'm real excited for where it's heading and where it's going to be in
this
a few
digital
months.
age. I think there's a resurgence of value in going to a storefront and getting the personal experience, and that's what I love about you guys.
Absolutely.
Too,
that's why we still hold on to that 11,000 square foot showroom. But, it's going there and getting the experience with the service and the rapport that we build that really separates us from the competition.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much again.
My pleasure. Awesome.
Check out Dynamite Tools. Check out what RJ's got going on. And thank you guys again for tuning in. Until next time, stay knowledgeable.